Hello, this is video 5 for chapter 3, and it's sort of about halfway through the videos. I've got 11. They're all short. So video 5 is about halfway. So we should just think a little bit about time management and where you are with the course, with the readings, with the assignments. I sent you a couple pages of notes. These are my notes for the videos. I sent them by email, and you'll notice that by the end of the first page, video 5, there are 3 personal responses. Those are very short. And the first assignment, the responses, 5 of them count as assignment 1. So there are marks for them. And assignment 2 is the lesson plan. Now, you also received the course outline. And I'll just say a few words about the lesson plan because it's not meant to be a big assignment. The idea of it is to try to use something from this inquiry type of teaching and to include that in a lesson plan. I'm not expecting, the whole thing is transformed. So take a plan that maybe one that you've liked and one that you think you can work with a bit more. So send me that old plan so I can see where you started. And then from what you understand about inquiry learning, any part of it that, resonates with you in some way, see if you can change that lesson around a little bit to put an inquiry element into it. It might be focused maybe on asking questions. A good reference is this diagram at the front of every chapter, and I have to wonder why. There's chapter 3. That same diagram is at the beginning of every chapter. And the way I understand it, I don't know what your reaction is to it, but to me, it's sort of the simplest model of inquiry learning. No big fancy words. So at the top, it's wonder and question. Going around clockwise, investigate and explore. Make sense, reflect, and share. So there's kind of a cycle going on here. So when you go to try and insert something into your lesson plan, maybe you could look at this for ideas. Like perhaps, at the introduction of a lesson, it could be that wonder and question. How could you introduce something that really grabs the attention? That's why that response, the one about who is Cheddar Man, that is going to really work you through this inquiry process. When you find out a bit of information and you answer those little questions, all that's doing is trying to focus on how you go about inquiry. So that might be one that you can insert into an existing lesson that you already have. Or maybe the next one, investigate and explore. Perhaps you thought the introduction to the lesson was good, and you're going to concentrate on how you can provide an opportunity for students to explore on their own. Or you might provide the materials and help them to get started with exploring. So I don't expect great things. I do not want you to agonize over this and spend a long time. It's just playing around with a lesson that you've done and seeing something that you've learned so far from this text. What can you use in that lesson plan? So time management wise, this is about the halfway mark in the videos. And you should be about halfway through the text with your reading, and you should have the assignments on the first page of the video notes. You should get those in quickly, so you are not weighted down at the end of the course, because we have to go on to that next short course. So the first 3 responses and the lesson plan assignment is what you're looking at getting done now. So into the content for this video in chapter 3, there were just a few things that I wanted to point out. On page 52, if you don't have your book, pause the video and grab it. So page 52, there's a chart there that might be confusing at first. And when you read it, it's about how we think. Are there things that get in the way? Are there things that help us? So going around that chart, the first thing is, do we have a goal, a purpose for the thinking? And the next one, the question issue, like, are we focused? Do we have a question that means something to us, not just a question that a teacher has thrown out there and kids are not interested in? That's why it's very helpful sometimes if the questions actually come from the children. Their questions, they're going to be interested in finding the answer. Going around the chart, gathering information, interpretation and inference. So I'm not going to read all the way around, but just see what you can get out of that chart, how you can understand it. Page 53. I thought this was a good one because it's always a problem. How do you get started when you're not used to teaching this way? So here's a nice list of ideas for questions. And it's broken down into getting started, questions to begin and unpack an inquiry. And then questions that unpack concepts. Concepts are an idea of what something is or how it works. Questions that unpack working with what is currently known. So things like, what do we know about this thing? Also, at the junior level, you're thinking more about looking critically at the information. So where does it come from? This idea of fake news. How do we know what to believe and what not to believe? So helping students to look at the source of something. What's the quality of it? Is it worthwhile information, or is it just fluff, unimportant stuff? The bottom box, questions that unpack reaching a conclusion. Now this one I like. In the next video is going to be more about this. So do I have all the information that I need? How did I reach my conclusion? So what did I do with that information? So I won't go through them all, but it's worth looking at those. And the last one is on page 54, and it's the big box on the right, inquiry for all. I think this is really useful. It's about how do we get students used to asking questions? How do we give them practice in it, in worthwhile questions? And I just got to look at my time. Okay, so the mystery bag game, a dice game, these are worth reading through. And I want to keep this under 10 minutes, so I'm going to say goodbye and move on to the next video.